This is Matt Brown, and you're listening to Just a Good Conversation. My guest today is Jon Wilhite, or as some people refer to him as, the Soul Survivor. As a baseball player at Cal State Fullerton, Jon was easily the best teammate anybody could have. I can't think of anybody who could carry such a heavy load on his shoulders for the rest of his life as Jon will. Suffering an internal decapitation might have been the easiest part to what happened to Jon. Dealing with the aftermath has become his real challenge.
I felt like something it had to have been depression, but I felt like I could handle it at the beginning, you know? So I was like, if you talk to my brothers and whatever, I'm like, okay, like something's up. I'm reading these books. I'm trying to meditate. I'm like doing whatever. I'm waking up at 2 a.m. so I get my workout in the morning, like just different stuff. But it came to a point where I was like, I just had to check my ego, because a lot of it I was able to like take on physically because I knew how to deal with it. But the mental or the emotional stuff, I really had no idea. You can't work harder to get through some of that. Sometimes you need to slow it all down and get some directions.
I'm Matt Brown, host of Just a Good Conversation. Take a listen to our archives. My guests have ranged from real estate agents, Oscar winners, and small business owner John Benton.
There's a few things that are on hold. I love education. And oftentimes people that work at the shop, under normal times, they'd be over at Cal State Fullerton or Fullerton Community College or Cerritos, because I'm like, hey, you need to take this class. Now, I can't do that right now, but as soon as we get through this mess, I will continue that process. And I hope to continue sponsoring young men, whether they stay with the company or not, to give them the experience that is afforded in this box, this place called Benton Performance.
Go to justagoodconversation.com for all our archives. Let's take a quick break for our sponsor before diving into my conversation with Jon Wilhite. Jon, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Got Pepe's breakfast burrito this morning, feeling nice and fat, so I'm ready to go.
How was Father's Day?
Oh, it was awesome.
Is this your second? Second Father's Day.
Last Father's Day, Knox was just like sort of a little bit of like a blob sort of laying around, but
it's officially your second.
Now he's got the personality going all over the place, and actually likes watching baseball with me, so it's really cool.
You enjoying fatherhood?
Yeah, so awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
What's the best part so far? I mean, only,
just sort of having my little buddy, we have our little routines. I'm really routine oriented with my day, so it's, we have our afternoon snacks, and he gets to watch Sesame Street or, watching MLB Network, and yeah. I mean, it's just everything. I love everything about it.
How's your counting going? Going good with Sesame Street?
Oh yeah.
Are they still doing it in Spanish with the?
Yeah, all those songs get stuck in my head. I can't get every single song is stuck in my head at this moment.
Are you doing the bus goes round and round yet?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Elbows, knees, and toes.
You bet.
That's the best part of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Have you guys started reading? Any reading books at night?
Oh, every night.
What are you reading? What's your favorite book?
No, this is this. I read the same story to him every night, and it's where do diggers sleep at night, and it's about like tractors and trucks and all that stuff. So it sort of fits into my career a little bit in the shipping stuff, but and then his mom, he's really big into like the Little Blue Truck books. I don't know if you've
Oh, yeah.
He has like every one of those, and then
you should change it up just for your sanity.
No, I actually like it because then that way I got the story down. I don't need to worry about.
You're not even flipping pages.
Yeah. I told Knox he's already read more books in his short time than I did in my life, so I was a Cliff Notes guy.
Tell me about growing up. You're the middle boy, and you're a South Bay guy. What was that like for you?
I mean, fortunate to grow up in Manhattan Beach. My grandma moved there because she couldn't afford Inglewood back in like the 50s. She bought her house for $7,000. And so, I mean, I feel like it was more middle class sort of beach town then.
Sure.
But we did a lot of that, like we did like boogie board camp and stuff as a kid, where my mom would go bring us to the beach, and it was just sort of a way that she didn't have to worry about us. There was a lifeguard on duty and all that stuff. So that was like our our daycare, yeah, was at the beach, or like
some guy named Jim just kept it
volleyball camp or different things like that. But at the same point, once I reached, I don't know, 13 or something, it was all about baseball for me. So, I mean, I would go to the beach occasionally and stuff, but
were you a surfer guy at all, or
no?
Just...
I like boogie board and body surf, but never really got into the surfing deal. But it was all about baseball for me.
That's almost mandatory, isn't it? In Manhattan Beach to at least get up on a board once in a while.
I would say so, but they got some guys coming out of Manhattan Beach now.
Yeah.
They have some teams. Eric Carroll's, he has 2 kids at UCLA that are, I mean, his son's a freshman, was starting every day for them, and I think his other son was a junior and pitcher, so they're starting to get some guys. It's not like the little ragtag that used to come out here that lay down bunts and, like, you know,
dirty fields.
Yeah, exactly. Hit and run and lay down sacks all the time. But
did you find baseball early as a kid?
Yeah.
Like, did Dad play it, or where was
my dad played in college at Dominguez Hills and Cal Poly Pomona.
Okay.
And
that was kind of the love affair for you?
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching Sports Center, and I don't know, I talked to my dad about this like recently, but I would actually have coffee with him. I would have coffee when I was like 3 or 4 years old and watch, because that's what he did, and watch like Sports Center or the highlights. But I actually played organized T-ball when I was 3.
What?
Because my dad had a team, and I guess some people
was that
quit.
Because your older brother played?
Yeah, he was on the team, so I wore jeans. They didn't have baseball pants, and I was playing when I was 3.
You're running around in tough skins?
So I mean, and I was always playing with my older brother's friends.
Okay.
And so I sort of grew up always playing ahead, you know. I mean, in majors or whatever in Little League, I was like one of the only 9-year-olds to play in that. And I remember they used to have drafts. I don't know if they still have drafts
I'm
nowadays.
Sure they do, but I remember that,
like,
yeah.
And everyone in the league knew that I was going to be playing, and they knew my dad was going to be coaching, and they said, well, you better draft John second, or else we're going to pick him up. The other coaches, because my dad was doing it out of ease, sort of, so he just only had to coach one team.
Right, yeah. He wasn't no reason for him to drive all over town coaching 2 different kids.
So then they were going to sneak me in the second round if my dad didn't pick me up.
That's dirty.
Yeah.
What? Any other sports? Basketball,
actually,
swimming?
like growing up, I played like basketball. Played 1 year of soccer. Wasn't the biggest fan of that. I actually was really good at roller hockey. Like really, really good. Yeah.
No reason for it to stick. You just
no. I mean, I just didn't. I mean, hockey was. I know there wasn't like a career in roller hockey. Right. And the ice hockey was so expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Expensive with ice time and all that stuff, and so baseball was just sort of a easier, and I mean that's what I love. So
if you love it, you're going to stay with it.
Yep.
Yeah. So when did you start to feel you were getting really good at baseball? Did you start to notice it like by the time you're 12, 13?
I mean, I would say I knew when I was 9 and I was playing with the older guys and like majorly like holding my own that I was going to be good. And then then once everyone got to be my age, it was like, then I was way better than everyone else. You know what I'm saying? Because I grew up playing wiffle ball and stuff with everyone that was 2 years older than me. So once it
that helps. That pushes the curve.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just was always very competitive at everything I did too, which helped because some people aren't that way.
It's so funny that you say competitive, like, because when I look at you, you got the smile on your face, and that's like the one thing you don't think of a competitive person to have. It'd be like a smile. Well, so you're like that sneaky ninja that smiles as he's cutting your heart out.
I mean, it's different. It's different when you're on the field of battle and something. I know I've always had really good hand-eye coordination, and I think that allowed me to that carried me on as far as my other tools in college baseball were all subpar, but my hand-eye coordination was what allowed me to, you know, bring value to the team. But I was always very good at ping pong, and I swear I didn't lose. I would beat all my friends and brothers left-handed.
Really?
Like, I didn't lose until I was like 20, and then I lost and I snapped my favorite paddle on the. I forget even.
Did you ever play George Horton?
Oh, I would have smoked him.
That's how he got Clark Hartman.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, Coach might have a chance now with my neck and like, you get me moving around the table. And that's one thing that I've had a tough time is, especially because I was so competitive and I was so good. Like, I don't even want to get back on a ping pong table right yet, competitively, just because
Were you lefty ping pong?
No, well, I could do both because I started.
Oh, right, because you flipped.
Because I would play a lot left-handed, so I'd like bait people into my backhand, and then I'd switch and slam on them lefty.
Dirty,
yeah,
dirty John.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was my best sport, probably ping pong.
Well, you could have made an Olympic career out of it.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how the U.S. is in ping pong, but you probably could have had a shot at it.
Who knows?
You missed your calling.
I usually had a beer in my hand though. I don't think they allow that in the Olympics.
So then, tell me about this Junior Olympics I discovered in my research. What Junior Olympic event did you do?
It was a Junior Olympic. They had two, or no, I think they only had one event at that time. They made it into two like the year or two after, but it was 64 teams, and it was in Tucson, Arizona.
Okay.
And it was just, all the best travel teams in the nation.
Okay.
And our little South Bay team that my dad coached, a lot of some teams would view those showcase tournaments as like, sort of trying to showcase themselves, but we just went out there and played baseball. So I was laying down like drag bunts. I remember.
Were you really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You were
just playing total small ball.
Oh, I mean, I would lay down a drag if they gave it to me.
Well, sure.
And I remember, like, I would always, when I was catching, I would always, like, backtail the runner at first on a base hit. And then the shortstop would back pick, and I would drop knee on the eye because they'd have to dive head first back. And we'd pick off, like, all these guys in these showcase tournaments. Like,
They just didn't expect that kind of happening?
They just didn't. I mean, Junior Olympics was a little more competitive, but some of the other ones were just like pure showcase. But we just played the game. But
like getting a guy on second, right? Or first, he rounds and you're backdooring him that way. Is that something your dad taught you, or where did you get that sneakiness? Because that's pretty.
I mean.
That's pretty advanced.
I just would always back up first too on every ground ball.
Right.
Even though I was slow and that was tiring all game, but
all that damn gear.
Yeah. But so I was down there, and if I'm sort of going that way on a base hit, especially when a guy takes an aggressive turn.
Right.
And you're not gonna, once you get out there and the guy goes to back pick you, you're not gonna slide your cleats in there, so it's hand, and I could just block the base.
That's great.
So I mean, I eliminated people taking real hard turns on our team.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So
they start. Oh, there's that Wilheit kid. Yeah, don't watch him.
Yeah,
he's a backpicker.
Drop knee on your face.
It changed some kids on complete tactics right there. How was high school for you playing baseball?
It was a lot of fun.
I saw some of those numbers. They're legit.
Yeah, I had some good numbers, but so it was cool. I got to play with my older brother one year. He was a senior, and my brother was probably he was the only guy I know at our high school to start as a freshman on varsity.
Wow.
My older brother, so he was really good. So I actually played with him for 2 years. No.
Was it?
No, I played them my senior. So I played on I started on varsity
as a
sophomore.
Sophomore, okay.
And I know I like at the beginning of the year they DH'd me too. I was more of like a defensive catcher, and then by the end of that I started. My strength was. As a sophomore in high school, I wasn't a big guy. I probably weighed like 120 pounds. I was like your typical sophomore in high school. I wasn't like a man child, like a Jared Clark or one of those guys.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my strength wasn't really there yet. But then come my junior year, I always was a good defensive catcher, which actually was a thing in college that my arm just wasn't. Well, first, I think at the beginning, and this wasn't the mentally strong way about me, but because Coach Horton, I threw guys out at the beginning of my time, like even just in inter squad and stuff, and I was effective. Even when I was lucky enough to play in the Cape for like a couple months after my redshirt sophomore year, and I like threw guys out. But Coach Horton pulled me aside. He's like, it's not the fact that you don't throw guys out, but more guys are gonna want to run on you because your arm's not intimidating.
Right.
And so then that sort of, got in my head, and then I didn't get a case of like the yips, but it just wasn't. I sort of defeated myself
mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From that side of catching.
Now, why catching? Why did you pick that spot, or the spot pick you because of?
I think I just love being a part of like every part of the game, and I always like knew the game really well. So as far as calling every pitch and all that stuff, I called my own pitches through high school. It wasn't like a coach that I had a coach. He's actually a good friend of mine. He played at UCLA with like Eric Burns and Troy Gloss and all those guys. But he would just sit on a bucket and he would give me fake signs.
Did he really?
So the other team would like try and be picking his signs, but they're not. And he would only do it occasionally, but like he would just flag a fake sign.
Because catching is the most grueling spot. Like it's so abusive on your body.
Yeah.
And yeah, you got to be psychologically there to take care of pitchers. And this, pitchers are all different. Some want you to slap them on the ass. Some want to be yelled at. Some don't want all, you're wearing all that gear and they want you to play offense.
Yep.
For the love of God. You didn't want to play anything else, huh? What did your brothers play? Were they all catchers?
Well, Mike was third base.
Okay.
My dad caught.
Okay.
So that's like where the catcher. And I was that guy when I was younger. I was like, on the scout ball teams, and I was lucky enough to be on the scout ball team as like a freshman. So I would catch bullpens for like 5 hours and then get to play in the last inning of the game.
Oh my God.
I just love being around the field.
The hell with your neck. How are your knees?
It's not even my knees. My hips are toast.
Your hips are.
My hips are toast from catching for sure.
Jesus. Yeah. Your neck's the least of your problems.
Oh yeah. That's straight and strong. I mean.
God. So how was recruiting then? So your brother moves on, you're sitting there playing. How was recruiting for you that junior, senior year?
Yeah, it was the junior year. I didn't get like a whole lot of love, and it's like I wasn't the toolsiest player. I was more of like, granted, I would give you a good. My average and stuff was there, but I didn't hit bombs.
Yeah, but you hit over 400.
Yeah, and then actually, I got lightly recruited by Santa Barbara and LMU, and I got like minimal scholarship offers there.
Santa Barbara's beautiful, John.
I know.
Santa Barbara's got
that's one of the places I went on a recruiting trip in Isla Vista. And so,
and you came back? I'm shocked.
Well, and so I'm sleeping on this guy's futon, and he hands me a hatchet. It's one of the guys on the team who says, if anyone comes in, hit him with this. And I was like, where am I? And so then we go to a party, and I'm at high school, senior in high school, have a few beverages out in Isla Vista. There's no cell phone service. I get sort of lost trying to find the guy I was staying at his house.
Your chaperone.
Yeah. So, but, and then actually when Fullerton got on, when I got on Fullerton's radar, I think it was North-South All-Star game or something. They had something at Fullerton. And actually they had this tryout, and I tore it up the first day. And then, And they were like calling names for the next day.
Who saw you, Rick, or was it
No, Serrano.
Dave? Okay.
I remember I just did like a lot of good things at a Fullerton guy with like
Right.
you know, just like backpicking guys, just sort of like
Hustle being there.
and like getting knocks over the shortstop's head as a left hand, you know,
Right.
just different things that looking back on it, I'm like, that's probably
What they saw.
Yeah. And so actually, the guy calling out the names, he didn't call my name, and it was after the first day where I thought I did really well, and I'm like, okay, that's crappy. So I think I had some buddies over, some of my high school buddies, and we were playing ping pong and had a few sodas. Even as a senior in high school, we would do that occasionally. And then the guy calls me the next morning and he's like, "Where are you at?" And I'm like, "You didn't call my name." He's like, "Oh, I meant to call your name. Like, you're invited back for this next day." So like we rush out there, and I only get like one at bat, and so I didn't end up making the South All-Star team or whatever against
Oh my goodness. They screw up and you miss half the game.
Yeah. So, but that's where I got on Fullerton's radar. And then it was, I don't even think I took a recruiting trip. I was just sort of like weighing the options. I believe that was like, they invited me out to a game. It was like towards the end of the season. That team was really good. The 03 team.
That 03 team was locked and loaded.
That was Dustin Miller was dealing on that team too, right?
Yeah. And
Derek Merrill, Wes Littleton, Chief.
Yeah.
Then you had like
they had this young kid named Jason Windsor.
Yeah. Legend.
Yeah. This JUCO transfer kid.
And then that's when Red was like,
he was a freshman.
Yeah.
He was a little goofy
I know.
redhead.
Yeah, and I remember, I think he just like, our second baseman's a freshman, just got invited to Team USA. Mm-hmm. Like that little redheaded guy.
Yeah, that 160-pound redhead. Yeah, he had an unbelievable performance in the World Series that year.
Yeah, that's when he got hit in the face. Was it?
Took one of
broke
the
his
old
ankle.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really, I got to see a couple games there and see the atmosphere at Fullerton, and it was sort of a no-brainer when they offered the recruited walk-on spot, a roster spot, and at a program like that.
You were all in.
Yeah.
What did you study at Fullerton? Or what did you have the idea of studying at Fullerton? Because, when you're 18 and when you're 21, there's a totally different,
Yeah, I mean, I just did communications. I just did something standard, something that a lot of the guys did. So
sure.
I had classes with my teammates, and they sort of knew. Some teachers you weren't sure how they would react to being gone for baseball games and stuff. So we sort of wanted to take classes that where we knew teachers would work with us if we were gone, as far as making up homework or whatever tests.
Right.
So
the crazy schedules.
Yeah, so I just sort of stick that route.
I didn't know if you had a love for chemistry or drama, art, or business.
It was just baseball.
Right. Just the stick and the ball. All right, well, so you redshirt your freshman year.
Yep.
That was one hell of an 04 year.
Yeah.
A very odd year. What was that like for you coming on and coming on to that team?
It was awesome. And
now you're a wee bit lad of 18, so what are you thinking?
I mean, first of all, you walk on campus, and I was watching all these guys play against Stanford and stuff in the World Series before, so there's a little bit of a shock and awe sort of thing, but it was cool because they have athletes intro.
Yep.
Something or other.
Mm-hmm. Banquet get together,
And there was ping pong, which I was really, really good at. So we start playing ping pong, and I don't really leave the table because I keep whooping everyone's butt. And so I got to meet a lot of guys and stuff like that. And I've sort of earned a little bit of respect right there. Just
street cred with the ping pong.
Exactly. But it was just a great group of guys.
Did you hustle most of the people through those 5 years with playing ping pong?
I mean, it hustles when you act like you're not good. I talked a lot of crap, and but I definitely earned some respect on the ping pong table. But as far as that 04 year, it was awesome. I couldn't ask for a better group of leaders as far as that made me feel valued as a redshirt. You know, like the stuff that we bring to practice every day, the drills, the whatever, we were all pulling at that common goal. I don't know if you remember when we won the title. We had the title or the chance to go to the White House, but they were only going to bring the 25 guys or whatever.
Right.
And PJ and all the veterans said, no, like, we're not going unless we bring the whole roster. Mm-hmm. Like, everyone on our whatever,
the full roster.
Everyone on the full roster.
Right. I mean, there's a travel roster, full roster.
I would say there were some guys on that full roster that didn't bring value, but there were a lot of guys that did bring value. And there were guys that maybe got hurt or whatever, you know? Mm-hmm. So they're like...
And it's tough being a red shirt that year or any year, right? Because you're kind of on the team, you're kind of not. You don't get to travel.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't feel like the way our group was and how we did everything together, there wasn't like a discernment between, at least off the field and stuff. Okay. I mean, it was not fun when like, oh, your team's there.
The first couple months.
I'm just hanging out. I have the weekend off. Like,
no, I'm with the baseball team, really.
Exactly.
Are you sure?
But it was...
How did you handle red shirting when they told you you're going to red shirt?
I mean,
coming from starting in high school,
did I like if I thought I was going to play with PJ and Zook behind the dish, like swapping time as coming in? I mean, that would have been a little much, you know, as a freshman when I'm watching those guys.
Did you ever think another position, maybe?
I didn't really play another position. I did a little bit towards the end of my career, first base, and I was pretty bad at first. So. But yeah, so I didn't. I mean, I had realistic expectations for myself, and I just wanted to find a way to help the team the best I could. And that year, it just so happened to be catch a lot of bullpens, you know.
Right.
And you know, try and push Zook and all them in different drills when we can.
How was it watching the team go to Omaha?
I was actually in Humboldt playing summer ball. That was an awesome place to play summer ball, by the way. We had like 3,000 or 4,000 fans. They had like our own band, like a high school football band called the Crab Grass Band. It was
really.
It was. If you got to get up to Humboldt.
I got to get up there, Humboldt. It's Humboldt State up there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they put us up in these little apartments. So that was sort of weird. I remember I was mid-game, I was catching. It's like, congratulations to Jon Wilhite. His team just won the College World Series. And I'm in Humboldt. I'm catching a game right then. So I was like, that's cool. But I didn't even get to watch much of it.
That is amazing. Yeah. You're in a game, and they're congratulating for your other team winning in June. Uh-huh. That is unbelievable. Yep. What was that like? I mean, that kind of been a little bit surreal. You're trying to like focus on the game, and
we were even in summer ball. Everyone keeps an eye on stuff, and whenever I wasn't playing, I was watching. You know, I think I remember Felipe just like going off. He raked.
Yeah. He loved
Windsor.
Oh, Windsor's numbers.
Oh my God,
are ridiculous in the playoffs.
If we scored a run, we were going to win that game the whole year.
Right.
I mean, and when you have Windsor and Ricky.
Right.
And then Sarver just comes out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. And that's a storybook kind of like, I can take care of this, coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pounds it and gets him in.
So, I mean, of course, I'm really happy because I felt just because how our team was, I felt like very a part of that team, even though I was up in Humboldt. It was just a weird moment when I find out I'm winning mid-game when I'm trying to like get, call pitches to strike another guy out on that other team. But
so you come back in 04 or 05, and now you're gonna compete. Guys have left. Both PJ and Kurt have left. What's your mindset? What are you thinking?
Just again, try and find a way to help the team win ball games.
Who's catching that year? Who's your competition?
It was me and John Curtis.
Oh, John Curtis. Oh, big deal. Just a skinny.
I feel I feel like I was giving him a pretty good run for his money that year for the starting job. And then, do you remember when I was delayed stealing second a week before the season?
Yes.
And Vance Otaki like sailed the ball a little bit to the right. Blake Davis was running across to jump and get it. Kneed me in the ribs and broke my ribs and bruised my spleen.
Yeah.
So I was out like the spleen kept me out longer than the rib, but I think the first 2 months and
Right.
And then I mean John was a way better catcher than me as far as like arm strength and stuff, but that's sort of how that year started. But I was still able to find a way to get some important at-bats and catch here and there.
Well, let's not be modest. That playoff run against Arizona and Missouri were big.
Yeah.
You had a double for score a couple of runs. You ran on a sack squeeze against Mizzou.
Yeah, well, because they pinch hit for John, and then I would always come in, if I came in, I would come in late in the game.
Uh-huh.
And it just so happened my spot came up against Mark Lance in there at the bases loaded.
That's all. That's smooth swinging lefty.
I was lucky enough to square one up and hit it to the gap. The crappy part about that game is that I don't know how we didn't come back and win that ball game because we're down 3. I hit the double, so it's second and third, nobody out.
Right.
Who do they walk? They walk Blake to get to Red, Surge, and Pill. Bases loaded, no one out, and we didn't score.
Go figure.
But my favorite at bat was the Missouri the two strike squeeze.
The 2-strike squeeze.
The following day.
When that happens, when you see those signals, what are you thinking? I got 2 strikes. What the hell am I?
Well, that was another situation where I came in later in the game as a defensive replacement. They pitched it for Curtis. And to tell you the truth, when I came in to hit, a lot of the times previously to just like pinch hit or whatever, it was against righties. That's usually all I faced in practice. Sort of like, okay, he's going to be the right-handed bat or left-handed bat off the bench for its righties. This guy was a little thumber lefty. I haven't faced many lefties. If you don't face him a lot, you're not going to be able to hit him.
Right.
Just ran. So I get to like 2-2, and there was one out. It was bases loaded, one out. And anyone who knows me and watched me, I'm not the most fleet of foot guy, so I'm like the biggest double play threat you can. Because I don't pop up a lot either, so I'm like, oh God, just don't hit into a double play. And then
That's all.
I saw the squeeze sign, and it was like a sign of relief for me because I could always bunt. I had good hand-eye coordination. I was like, hell yeah. And
were you a little surprised by that?
No, and this was, we have like a squeeze sign and then there was a subtle squeeze sign.
Right.
So, if I was surprised, I would have missed it.
Well, I saw it because I could know the sign, and I was like, oh God. Like, it scared me because
But that's, see, we always sped stuff up and did stuff in practice. So like in the game, and I bunted, I always could bunt. That's one thing that I always could do. So that was something, there was no doubt in my mind that I was going to like get it done.
Was that because of the hand-eye coordination? You were just really good at holding that bat and controlling it?
I was laying.
You were laying them down.
I was laying down bunts in showcases and stuff. That's the type of guy I was,
Just carries on, doesn't matter.
Just wanted to showcase my slow feet of foot in the showcase tournament.
Anybody can be fast. Let me show you how slow I am.
Well, yeah, exactly. Look, I'm still getting knocks though.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm still at first.
Yeah.
That was a tough loss against Arizona State that year.
Yeah.
Right, no 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a tough one. We get to the regional, and then we have to deal with them, and we win on Friday in that crazy game.
Yeah, the balk. Yeah. I think that sort of screwed us. But what's crazy is that was my buddy who hit the go-ahead homer.
Was it really?
ASU, my best friend. He's in my wedding. I was in his wedding. And so I'm in the bullpen watching that because when he hit the home run, and it was a weird emotion for me because it's like I'm super pissed, but if I'm like, well, if I could pick anyone to have done it, like anyone that I'm proud of, it's him. So it was like, I was really pissed. And so I come in later as a defensive replacement in for Curtis again. And he would always like, we never really talked to each other because we were rivals in high school too. And he always say, "What's up?" And I would always just say, "What's up?" And he says, "What's up?" to me that time. And I say, "F you, Joe." That's all we say to each other. But yeah, that was a tough one. I still remember, forget who it was, in the dugout, like, "Oh, we're going to Omaha" or something, right? That inning, and I was like, "Shut up!" Like,
yes, shut up. We're not going anywhere. 3 outs. There's a lot of games to be played.
Man. So, yeah, that was a tough loss for sure. I think that was a really good team of ours too.
Yeah,
I think that was one of. I mean, I played on a lot of good teams, but that one was up there.
Yeah,
with the 04 team, even.
Right. I mean, Ricky was in total command of that club that year. And we had Romer was a freshman, which was always kind of very, very a Fullerton thing. There was older pitchers that were really good, freshmen that were coming up that were very good. And so there was always like teaching and learning and understanding and keeping the young guys under control.
Yep.
Well, and when you're running that 5 years, there were a lot of good pitchers and a lot of good players that can help.
And we just have just guys that would step up too, that fill that third spot or to just like pitch super clutch games for us. I mean, Mike Martinez in 04, stepping in as that Sunday guy.
Right.
He had a good season. Scotty Sarver, or talking about just coming out of nowhere and shoving through the stretch run and into the World Series. I mean, even...
You played with Dustin Miller, too, didn't you? Didn't you play with Dustin Miller, right?
Yeah, I knew D-Mail. D-Mail played on, like, a scout ball, some tournament team with my older brother one year, so I got to see Dust when he was a senior in high school. He had some legit stuff, too, as a freshman.
Yes.
I mean, it says a lot to say, I mean, how he came back as a senior and dealt at, like, 84 still.
Right.
Because he could just pitch, but I think he was like 92 or 93 as a senior in high school.
Yeah, yeah. His freshman year, he was lights out, unbelievable. And to go through what he did and came back his senior year and be as effective as he was
yeah. We actually were talking about Dust today because my parents would bring him Pepe's breakfast burritos every time, every game.
You guys are keeping Pepe's alive over there.
Yeah.
So you were fortunate. You made 2 trips to the College World Series during your time. What was that like, that first one in 06?
I mean, it was awesome. You're just like a celebrity in that town. And, I mean, the town really loved the Fullerton teams, too.
Did, and that was, I think it was the Super Regional. Did we beat Missouri? Or was
we played Missouri quite a bit.
Right. Did you ever pitch it or get a at bat against Scherzer? No. Okay. Yeah.
No, we played Missouri a few times in the regionals and the supers.
It was so weird how we just saw them a lot. And then Tulane. There was, for a point, we saw Tulane a lot.
So yeah, but Omaha was just awesome. I mean, the town loved us. We actually, the cool thing about the World Series is you play and you have a day off. So like I know we would enjoy the festivities of Omaha and stuff, of course, before our curfew and stuff.
Of course.
But the town loved us. I mean, even
and you're not in school, so you don't have schoolwork.
And I mean, I think this is a good thing, but some may not. But they're like, we went out and they're like, "You go to Fullerton, huh?" And we're like, "How do you know that?" He's like, "You're the only team that goes out while you're here." But
we had the casino across the river.
I won $5,000.
What?
And I hit that was as soon as I turned 21. I forget. So I don't know.
So that would have been in 07?
07. It could have been 07.
Yeah, that would have made sense because 07.
Yeah. So I'm just playing. I haven't even gambled. This is the first time I gambled, and it's Wheel of Fortune, and I just hit the spin. Like you hit the button, and it just stopped and started playing music.
Did you put $1 in or a quarter?
No, it was probably like $5 or something. And I was like, and I was waiting to be able to spin it. I'm like, I think it's broken or something. He's like, you won $5,000, and I like high stepped it all around the casino.
Oh my god!
And I know when we lost that year, I spent like half of it on my teammates at the lobby bar. You know.
I did not hear about the $5,000 winner on the team
I didn't
bus.
claim
I missed
taxes on that one. I don't think you had the choice to
claim that.
Yeah,
or
I was
wait.
like, oh wait,
it's Iowa.
Yeah,
That's probably expired now. I don't think the FBI will come looking for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
Did you get an at bat any of those times at the World Series?
07.
Okay.
07, I got 2.
Against Irvine?
No, Oregon State. I came in late and got a knock.
For John again?
No, this was for Dustin.
Oh, right. Drago, yeah.
It was, no, it was either Dustin or Chris Davis. I think it might have been Chris, but I'm not sure. Because I know I have the picture, my picture on it, but the name, it still showed the batting lineup in Omaha and it said Davis. So I'm trying to think. I think Garneau might have pinch hit for Chris, and then they brought in Eddie Coons, their big closer, right-handed closer, and then then they called me in.
Here comes John.
Yeah. And that was a fun at bat too, and I know it was a packed house against Oregon State. I think it was the largest crowd in College World Series history to that point. And I just remember getting 2 strikes and everyone's on their feet, and I stepped down and called time and looked around and like
taking it a little bit.
It was pretty awesome. But then that was another one where I got like a big knock, but we ended up losing. You know.
Yeah.
Because Fahey had to pinch run.
Because they won it in 06, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was their back-to-back year, 06-07.
No, or they won in 07, yeah.
Okay.
Evan MacArthur popped up to the left, but that left fielder dropped it, but he was playing on a broken ankle, so he couldn't. Do you remember when they limped at first?
Yeah.
So then we were desperate enough that they pinch ran Matt Fahey, my good buddy.
I love Matt.
Yeah, he's the best.
A speedster.
I know, exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, he's the top of your list.
He's the first guy, sure.
First guy to go to when you want to pinch run.
He's the guy always stretching, ready to go. Yeah. Look at those hamstrings. They're built for speed.
So they pinch ran him. I know. I know, right? So, and then actually so we lose that one 3-2 or whatever.
Of course.
The following day we play, the next game we play Irvine. Mm-hmm. And we have that like 16-inning game.
Still going.
Is that the longest game in history still?
Yeah. I believe so.
Yeah. So, and I remember coming up that point, and it was like,
I think George's last game as a Titan.
Yeah. And so it was like the 11th or something. I don't know. One of those innings deep in the ball game. And I got a knock the night before. I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to win this game. 3-pitch K. Yeah. The first call was generous strike on the outside corner, and then I saw 2 changeups and back to the bullpen.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
So the first time you came on my radar, and refresh my memory because I tried to look it up and I couldn't find it, was at Northridge, and you... So did Evan hurt his wrist at Northridge?
No.
Who was that?
Was that Vasquez, right?
Vasquez breaks his wrist on a throw down the line, and they put you in, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's the catcher.
Yeah.
What the hell's he doing playing first?
Well, and
I got all these photos of you batting at Northridge.
Yeah, I have a funny little backstory to that because I would get I was wanted dugout captain always, and trying to fire up the dugout. So I think I slammed like 3 Red Bulls because that was right at the beginning of the game, and so then that happens. It's like
weird play.
I know.
Right. First, someone's going down
right
the line.
He
reaches out,
tries to tag him. Like same time, I don't even think he just reached out. I don't even think he had the ball.
Snapped to the wrist.
Yeah. So it's like, John, get ready. And, I go to like play a little catch in front of the dugout. I'm all hopped up on Red Bull. I fire the first ball like way over the guy's head. Like, okay, you're in the game. Let's go.
Jesus. Did you even have a first baseman's glove?
I mean, I had to have, but I don't know how much I used it. I don't know how much I used it.
It still got the tag on it. It was brand new. Yeah, that's the first time I saw you on the radar. And as I have a cheat sheet of like guys I have to get, and I was like, oh, too bad for him, but I need this Jon Wilhite kid.
Yeah, I remember the first 2 years I was looking for photos in Matt Brown's little directory, and I didn't see any.
Yeah, what year was that?
Was a lot of practice pictures then, I guess.
No, was that 05 or 06 at Northridge? He gets hurt.
Tell you the truth, I don't know.
You don't remember. I just remember that's when it happened, and I was just like, oh, yeah. I have a horrible photo of the wrist being broken, and then I've got this hyped up Red Bull kid at first base.
Yeah.
When your career at Fullerton ends, what's your plan? Do you have one?
Well, I know I sort of knew that I was in the line with baseball, even though Chris Davis's dad was gonna sign me as a free agent or whatever, senior signed free agent, which was, but I sort of knew, like, even in my, I knew that's like probably where my talents, they took me as far as that, but in my mind, I had made up that was the end of the line for me, so I got to enjoy it. I got to enjoy all those moments towards the end of my career because I knew it was the last time. It wasn't like I just got cut. Yeah, I didn't want baseball to end for me as in rookie ball getting cut or something. Right. I wanted to like enjoy that time with my teammates that much more. When something's coming to an end, you get to enjoy it more, and that's the approach I took, and I was going to get into coaching.
Did it ever bother you that your career, your college career wasn't greater? Like you didn't start 50 games or you didn't?
No, not at all.
Because there's a lot of guys, as you know, we talked about it, like they come to Fullerton with expectations.
Yeah. And I feel like I didn't come with that high expectations, at least outwardly, or like I had high expectations myself, but, I mean, all the stuff I accomplished in my career, and it's not all measured on like stat sheets or whatever, It's measured by the friends that I still have to this day, what we accomplished as a team. No one knows what you really hit in college. Right. I mean, unless they want to look it up or whatever, but we got to win the national championship, and
you hit over 300 your senior year.
Yep, exactly. And I got to go. I never not played in the super. It was sort of like we didn't get a banquet if we didn't make it the World Series the following year. You just had it at the intro dinner for dinner with the Titans or whatever.
Right.
So, and I know guys that transferred out and that were lesser players and would go put up good numbers elsewhere, but did they win? That's sort of what it came down to.
Did it ever cross your mind at some point, like, I'll go to Cal Poly Pomona?
No, I mean, I really didn't. I mean, I saw other guys do it, but like, I was so invested here and I loved everything about it. And I accepted my role and I did it really, really well.
I was shocked how everybody loved you. Like, you were the teammate guy. Yeah. And like, I've always joked with you, like, the most photos I have of you coming out of the dugout, high-fiving, slapping guys on the ass, like congratulating everybody.
I mean, I feel like my player comp would be like a David Ross or something like that.
Okay.
I mean, less time than I'm saying at the end of his career with like the Cubs and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was, I mean, it says a lot about our program that I was a team captain the last 2 years, Right. Some programs, it's like, it's only given to the starters and are like the guys.
Right, the Friday night guy.
And it's only earned. There were some guys on our team that were the guys, but they weren't necessarily respected or like...
or vocal.
Yeah, or I mean, or just not even... just because you were a guy on the field didn't mean that you totally earned everyone's respect. You had to go about the stuff the right way. There was... some very good guys on our team, and only a few because we had a very cohesive unit. But there were some guys that weren't necessarily considered like a captain that easily should have been on paper, you know?
Right, absolutely. So when it ends for you, what are you thinking like with your degree or when you're studying? Like, I think, okay, I'm looking at...
I mean, I knew I was in it. Like, my whole plan was I'm going to get into coaching.
Okay.
I mean, I was one of those players.
Starting at like high school kind of?
I was actually I hopped on with Rickabaw's.
Oh, that's
like
right.
Little travel team. Mm-hmm. And then I wanted to get right into college as a volunteer, you know, like somewhere. That was my plan. But what was I going to say?
Well, my question was then where, because it's the things that changed for you is where do you meet Harry and then Nick and Courtney? Where do you guys know each other from?
Henry. Yeah, Henry was my high school. I went to elementary school with Henry in Manhattan Beach.
Okay.
So I knew, and I played I played high school baseball with him.
Okay.
He was a grade older than me.
Okay.
And so then he moves to Fullerton after his time at ASU because he went to the law school right here.
Okay. Right.
And so he just sort of hopped on, and because I was a captain and sort of like he was on honorary teammate sort of. Everyone, I was like, this guy's cool. Like,
right.
So everyone, it's not like I was a youngster bringing some guy around that wasn't on, because we didn't let
your street cred carried over to him.
Exactly. So it wasn't like, it was instant. He was an instant teammate for that 2008 season.
Okay.
I believe it was just that season. So we went to some ball games when Nick was up, I think the previous year.
Okay.
Or no, that 2008 season, and then again in 2009. And then Courtney was in a few classes with me.
Okay.
At Fullerton. I couldn't tell you which classes now because
just classes.
Yeah, exactly. She was in a couple classes.
So there was a relationship.
Yep.
Okay. So you're staying in Fullerton. You haven't left to go do travel ball in Montana or whatever. You're still local, trying to get a coaching career going.
No, well, actually, I ended up. I moved to back to Manhattan Beach.
Right, but you're not out of the state.
No.
So you're still...
No, and I mean, my goal, I was one of those players that you never would hear, but like telling you how great a coach you're going to be one day. I just feel like the game of baseball came really easy to me as far as like calling pitches and dealing with pitchers and the different mentalities you get out there and dealing with people and knowing the game.
Did baseball strategy-wise come easy to you too?
Yeah, everything. I mean, I feel like I was the guy that a lot of people will go to for certain things,
Right.
Asking about something or on a pitcher, tipping pitches or whatever. I was always that guy.
Always that guy. So then what's your career? What's it evolving to at that point?
Well, I was just sort of biding the summer or biding some time playing with or coaching with Rick Baugh's youth team, waiting for that following season to hop on. I was just sort of enjoying some time, having no schedule. I had to be in Pasadena at like 3. So I would just...
Quite the life.
Yeah, just sort of... I mean, I got paid like I worked, but I was eating a lot of 99-cent store dinners and stuff, but I was able to like just get by and enjoy that that was a plan to just get by and enjoy that time before I grinded out as a volunteer wherever this world was going to take me. So
right, because that volunteer coaching life is a grind.
You're there before everyone, and then you're there after everyone, and then you have camps, and then you have lessons, and
right. You unlock the place, you lock the place, you got to babysit people. Some are not your kids, some are your kids.
Yep.
Yeah, that is...
Then it's field maintenance and all that stuff too at Fullerton.
Right.
Because we don't have...
Yeah, you don't have thousands of dollars to throw at the grounds crew to come in on them Monday through Friday.
So, I mean, that's ideally where I was planning on hopping on, but I was fortunate enough to have a lot of options just because the assistants that we had at Fullerton during my time all went on to like other head coaching gigs or other schools. So I had a decent amount of options to sort of sort through. And I was talking to all those people about doing something, but it just wasn't anything concrete.
Right. So April 8th, Nick's got a baseball game. It's the third game of the season, the young season. He has a pretty good game. 6 innings, I had it down here. 6 innings, gives up 7 hits, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. They win the game. You guys have plans that night?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember a whole lot of any of like before the game or that, but I mean, we were on our way to in cahoots.
Were you guys at the game at all?
Yeah.
Okay. So you went to the ballpark.
It's all like hearsay.
What kind of Dodger fan is going to an Angels game?
I know.
I'm holding that one against you.
I was that guy that would wear my Dodger hat to the Angel games.
Atta boy.
Yeah, exactly. So
because they were playing Oakland, for God's sake.
I know. So. They were playing Zook. Zook was up.
Oh, okay. That's right.
So I mean, at least I hear different stuff that night. But I think we went down to Boris's boxer. We did something because Nick was rep by Boris. And I mean, he threw an awesome game.
Right.
And I think he got the W.
He got the W. Yeah. Yeah, for that third game of the year.
Yeah.
It was fresh. They win it.
Yeah, so, I mean, I just could imagine, because Henry was like a super high energy, like, just pumped up guy in life in general. So, to watch his buddy get his first Major League W, I'm sure. And Courtney was like the same, it was just a bunch of like very positive people. So I'm sure we were all super stoked.
Well, the real question is, how did Suzuki do?
Tell you the truth, I don't remember that either.
I'll have to look up those stats.
And I don't know if this is true, but I think Kurt was the first guy Nick faced in the MLB and the last.
I'll have to look that up. I don't know.
And Zook was the one that,
because Nick had Tommy John, right?
Yeah, out of high school.
Right, out of high school. So, okay.
And I know they played on Team USA together.
That's right.
Yeah, but Zook was very instrumental in as far as my recovery and all that stuff too, which I'm sure we'll get to at some point.
Sure. So you guys are leaving Angel Stadium, and as you know, like I'm sure the memory's still fuzzy almost 12 years later.
There's that
blank cassette tape.
Well, I don't even. The thing I remember vaguely, and you hear these. I hear these stories, so like I don't know how much I remember of them, or if I just. But we went because Henry was up and coming sports agent, and we went to go watch El Camino College play against Santa Ana or something. Because he had a guy that he was sort of repping on El Camino, and I vaguely remember being there. But then after that, I don't really remember a whole lot.
Is it weird that like either your parents, your brothers, or friends piece that night together for you because it's erased literally from your memory?
Yeah, but I mean, it's been a lot of years and I've heard like a lot of stories. So I can almost like imagine it, I think, but.
Right. Like there's enough visual stimulation told to you that you can kind of
and I could sort of tell it because I've been told it, if you like.
Right. It's your story.
It's my story, but I don't know it, but I've heard what I did, so.
Right. Well, it comes back to reading with your son. You're just not even looking at the book anymore.
Exactly.
How is that? Is that kind of odd that piece is like told to you?
Tell you the truth, I haven't even really thought about it. I mean, and like it is what it is,
right?
And
because I mean, I've known you obviously for a long time. So doing the research, I was thinking like, wow, we're going to talk about something that he doesn't know, but he knows.
Yeah,
like that, like.
It's
like
weird.
My mom telling me about like my first day in kindergarten.
Exactly.
I was there, but I have no recollection.
Yeah, I mean that's a good sort of
but you're
analogy.
But you're a grown ass adult at that point.
Exactly.
There's no regulation.
Yeah,
I was 5.
I sort of treat it like that, you know. I haven't really like looked or thought too much about it, but it just sort of is what it is. And I mean, when people want to know what happened, I sort of just tell them what I've heard. I know, you know.
What's the first then memory that comes to your mind?
Like after?
Yeah, after the accident.
Vaguely UC Irvine, and that was like, I was there for a month. So
right. You lived there.
I don't know when it
You had a
was.
residency, for God's sake, John.
And I barely remember this point in the whole month I was there. For some reason, well, I remember because I had pneumonia in my lungs, so they had to do this like thing where they have to stick a tube down
Right. I've seen that, yeah.
your nose, and then it makes you cough up stuff in your lungs.
Clear you.
So this is for some reason I thought I was getting tortured or something in Texas, even though I could see the angel's hat outside of my. So I vaguely remember. I remember the breathing therapy thing, and I vaguely remember like one point wearing the halo,
Right.
and just my head being heavy.
Right.
But besides, there was a very, very hot nurse named Tanya that I remember too, and she is real. My parents said so. I have seen the pictures. It wasn't in it wasn't in a dream or something.
That's good.
Yeah, I was on some very gnarly drugs, like
I'm sure.
Like
I'm sure it wasn't.
Dilaudid, fentanyl, like all that.
Yeah, wasn't too Tylenol.
No, I couldn't. That's why I don't remember that whole month. I don't even think I did a whole lot of like, or I even had many visitors outside of my family at UCI. Maybe I did. I know a lot of people were there. I know my parents got like, well, first of all, I had to have a dough name because just like all the reporters and stuff trying to get
Sure.
my dough name was pretty sick. It was Pastry Dough. But yeah, I went back to UCI, and I got to get back there again, but I went like a year or two after, and they were just saying they've never seen that place as crowded as when I was there. Like all friends and family all came.
Oh, it was a circus.
Yeah.
It was an absolute circus. It's interesting to think about that there's a month where you're not in control of your life. You're a grown man, and it goes on to your parents to make decisions for you,
Yep.
right? Like, yes, we're going to do this. Yes, we're not going to do that. The doctors are talking to them, and you might be in this room sitting there with this giant metal halo on your head, just kind of going,
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I don't even know how. I know they had to wait a week to do the surgery because I had like brain swelling or something.
Right, yeah.
So I was out for that week, I believe.
Yeah, you were a nighty night.
Yeah. For a lot of it, at least.
And then you had the collapsed lung, the broken shoulder,
Yeah, broke my
collarbone.
scapula, fractured my part of my skull, fractured a hip, broke like a bunch of lungs. 2 collapsed lungs.
Right. Now I've been fortunate. I did some stuff with
My neck.
the city of Fullerton, which is where the accident took place. I know 2 of the firemen that were on the scene that night, and they said there's nothing like they've ever seen.
Yeah, that was an awesome group. And I have the ink for them, you know that?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, they're an awesome group of guys. I actually, whenever I'm in Fullerton, I usually try and get back there and at least stop by and say hello. I mean, it's been a while, so I don't know if everyone's still
Right. Who's there? Who's not?
But still, I mean, we went there, I think 2 years after the crash, and they had my whole family over there for dinner. They say they see a lot of people, you know, in that situation, but they never really get a follow up on them and see how they're doing.
Sure.
As far as usually they're not as publicized, and then also the fact that I stopped by, they were like super stoked. They were taking pictures of my tattooed arm with the crest on it, and I mean, it was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, very often the firemen, they don't see who they've saved. They go on, and they might be out of towners, or they just don't come back, and so
That's a gnarly job.
Oh yeah, No, I can.
I could never do that. No chance.
No.
I'd be running away from all that stuff.
It's in the fire, John, not running away from the fire.
Yep.
I mean, can you imagine that? You're gonna deal with that a lot.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh my goodness.
One of my good buddies is actually a firefighter or paramedic, and he said part of the reason he does that is because me and all that went on with my crash and stuff. So
Wow.
yeah.
How did you handle when you are starting to come back and the memory is starting to be there for those months, 2, 3, 4? Like how were you handling all that?
I remember because once I got to Long Beach Memorial, that's where I did my inpatient rehab at the hospital, and that's when I started to come to and sort of have some sense about me. And they would start they would only answers if I asked them. They wouldn't delve out any information unless I asked.
Wow.
Really, because they didn't want to overwhelm me.
Sure.
So I would ask what happened or something, and then you were in a crash and so I just feel like it was I just remember bits and pieces at a time because that's all I could maybe take in. But I remember realizing that it was real when I was watching the Angel game and I saw the patch for Nick on their jersey. And then that was a day or two where I was yeah, I just was down and out. I was okay, I'm not doing in my rehab. I'm just,
emotionally
taking
drained.
it all in, yeah.
Yeah. Because when do you finally, I guess, either you're realizing or someone tells you you're the lone survivor?
Yeah, that was the moment when it all came together.
Was it right there?
Right there. I mean, I'm sure at points, some people have said, maybe I asked a question, the nurse said something, but it didn't all come together.
Click.
Until that moment. And then I was down and out for 2 days, but it was really helpful having the other families, how supportive and stuff they were. That just allowed me to know that they were on my team, and that so then it was, and to think about the way Nick, Courtney, and Henry, all the type of people they are, I'm giving another chance at this thing. It was almost like I had nothing to lose, sort of, I shouldn't be here. So that's how I was sort of dumb enough at the beginning to take that mindset of just being extremely lucky and grateful, and that everyone was supporting me, all the other family. There wasn't any animosities, that I was only, everyone was calling and talking to me all the time. So I just really felt like I had everyone pulling for me. And even, the Angels, Fullerton, I didn't know Phil Nevin before. I met him a time or two, but we've become close friends through this all because he was commentating my last college baseball game in 2008, and I was the second to last out or the last out, and Phil, he was walking out of the booth or whatever, and he saw the whole team gathered up and some guy talking and pulling out his jersey, and it was me. And he was like, who is that guy? Like he hardly even played. Why is he, But it was me sort of just telling everyone to, don't take advantage of this uniform. Wearing this uniform, it goes fast, all that stuff. And so from there, when Phil heard that it was me, he came right to the hospital and was hanging with my family and all that stuff.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. I mean, it's got to be a hard thing to have such a, like we said, a blank memory of it. And then people have to feed you it.
Yep. I mean,
when I saw you in June, when your brothers brought you out and you sat in the offshoot bullpen, and I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah, I was 130 pounds.
Yeah. And I have that wonderful photo of you and Jared walking off the field after we win. And, Jared's a big guy as it is, but now you look like his little teeny little brother.
Yeah, and it was just all new at that point. I had a new body, and I wasn't used to my neck and all that stuff. And there's a bunch of people around, wanting to give you attention and stuff, but you can't really turn and like see people. So it was like,
Let's talk about the neck, because I've explained it to people and they're like, no. And I'm like, yeah, that's how it worked. Like I explain it, maybe I'm totally off. Lollipop with the cover on it, and you could somehow take the lollipop off the stick, but the cover stays on the lollipop stick.
Well, yeah. So my actual head was removed from my spinal column, but the spinal cord remained intact.
Yeah. Now, the stat I looked up in this, 99% of the people do not survive.
Yep.
Of the 5%, 50 die at or on the way to the hospital, and the other 5% are quadriplegics. Like, your stat doesn't even exist.
Yeah, I was like the first Orange County internal decapitation survivor. I
Right.
can add that to my
Is that on
media
your
guide or whatever.
Is that on your LinkedIn
It should be.
or your Instagram like bio?
No, it should be LinkedIn. I whore it up on there sometimes.
I mean, because then a year. Well, we'll talk about. So, like, what? I mean, like that whole process when they explained it to you later. Were you shocked?
I never even heard of it, so it was just like,
how?
yeah.
I mean, you just explain how.
I'm just like, all right, like whatever you say, like it's not like it's pretty like explains itself.
Yeah, but it's not like if I had told you 2 weeks earlier, like this can happen, you'd be like, no, that's a bad sci-fi movie. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, I guess the main time they've seen that injury before is like in hangings back in the day, because that's how they would kill people.
Right. Were you still working out? Were you still physically keeping strong?
Yeah.
Because they say that's the point that kept you.
Yeah, I mean, it was different. I mean,
right.
I'm not like doing. I was more like beach body stuff.
Right.
Like it wasn't like. But yeah, I was still like going to the gym and trying to stay in shape. That way I don't become like a total fat ass.
Or quickly get the coach bod.
Exactly. I wasn't the coach yet.
You had some ladies you got to show the body to.
Exactly.
It'd be like, I'm coaching. You want to rub my Buddha belly?
Yeah.
It's then when I had the chance, it was like a year later, Jeff Miller and I for the Register, and we do that story. And from seeing you from June of 2009 and seeing you a year later, you look like a completely different person again to me.
Yeah.
Your body was coming back. You were working out.
Well, because it was weird. So from the inpatient, Long Beach, they did a great job at Long Beach there, sort of. I mean, it was they pushed me as much as I could be pushed at Long Beach. And then I went to an outpatient rehab in Orange. So I stayed at my folks in Marietta.
Okay.
And and my little brother just got out of college, had to drive me to Orange 4 to 5 days a week. My little brother and my mom. And the height of traffic, from the brain injury and stuff, my vision was all messed up. I had to wear an eye patch or like a blindfold so I didn't get car sick. And we have to drive 2 hours to the...
Wait, you had to wear that while they were driving?
No, I was in the passenger.
Well, they were driving. You're wearing this, so people are looking over thinking who's the pirate or the kidnapper.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And so that's for like 2 hours on the way there in traffic, and then we'd be done at 4, and then it's another like 2 or 3 hours back. And luckily, my brain injury, we didn't bring that up, it's called brain shearing, and I guess it's like one of the worst that you could have too, because it's on all sides.
Because was that from the slamming back and forth?
So I was at this brain injury rehab in Orange.
What did they do? What's the process?
Luckily, I outgrew that place quick. Luckily, I wasn't in that. There's a lot of like sort of memory stuff and different things like that. Like they would read me like boring stories and tell me what happened. And I'm like, read me the sports page or something, and I'll recite it back to you. But this stuff is boring. Like, and I was at that point where I didn't really have a filter, because I was still like just lucky to be here and grateful, but I didn't really like mince my words a whole lot. And so
why do you think that was?
It just came down to I wanted to get better. Like, I was doing everything I could to get better, and I felt like this place was sort of like, there's a lot of older patients, a lot of stroke patients and stuff.
Yeah, you're 20 in there.
And luckily, my brain was still there. I mean, I talked slower, and some of the things that, my vision was a little messed up, but like, we were going like different out. We went to like downtown Disney, and I had to, at the beginning of my time there, they had to walk me with like a belt, like a leash sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so we're like walking through downtown Disney, and people probably recognize me because there's Angel fans right there.
Right.
And then just like we would go to like Costco. I mean, and all this stuff is good for certain people, but I just felt I was lucky enough to feel like sort of like, what am I doing here?
Right.
And like we went to Costco one time, and they like gave us a shopping list, and they're like, go try and find this. And so I do what I do now at Costco. I ask someone. They're like, you can't do that. I'm like, that's what I do when I go to Costco. It's like,
otherwise I'll be here for 4 hours. Yeah, I'm looking at the TV. I'm trying to find giant potatoes.
Then met my folks. I talked to my folks, and I mean, just all the driving back and forth. I went there for like a month, and we're just like, I just said, Mom, Dad, like, this isn't for me. I'm not getting a whole lot better. They're not pushing me, and it's wasting time and, insurance or whatever, money. So we had to sit down with the doctors and one of the head doctors, and I told them I'm going back home and I'm doing this on my own. And they're like, he was like, you should not do this. You're crazy. And I'm like, we'll see. And that's when I took a huge step, and I took ownership of my situation. And luckily as an athlete, I knew my body and stuff, my limitations. So we just went to a physical rehab place there in Temecula, and I started there.
Were they more worried about your mind and not your body, and you were more worried about your body than your mind?
No, well, I knew my mind was there. Okay. So it was just, I was lucky enough that my mind was there, but they couldn't tell that. Right. So then I knew I needed to focus on like my body and get moving and stuff again.
Right. Get yourself physically strong.
So then I started back at...
what was that like, building your body back?
Tough.
Right.
Like I could barely lift the bar. Like any of that stuff, my balance was all out of whack.
What were you weighing the night before the accident? Were you up to 200?
Probably like 195, 200. Okay.
And you got down to what, 120?
120, 130. And it was just like, I still remember after the crash, I didn't really know what was going on because my right arm was always my stronger arm. Mm-hmm. But like, because my whole right side was where everything was broken and whatever. I couldn't barely like lift anything. Right.
What a process that must have been to try to like work out to get back.
Yeah, I mean so I did the little inpatient rehab there in Temecula, and they were awesome. And then it came time where I moved back to the beach maybe 6 months later, and I was talking to Zook, and who lived in Redondo, and he's like, hey, come work out with me. And so I would go 5 days a week to Hermosa 24-hour fitness and work out with Zook in the off season. And that's when I really like saw strides. If you talk to Zook now, he'll tell you like he was scared shitless when I first started.
Well, sure. But he's responsible for you at some point.
I mean, there was different. If you talk to him, he was scared shitless. But
I would, yeah.
But that's
what did you look like?
I mean, I went in there. I was a little more skeleton-y. At the rehab,
wobbly still.
Maybe a little. I mean, but at the same point, I didn't look at like I felt like I was like awesome and lucky to be alive. I was sort of like, and that was all. I was still all blinded by like, feeling lucky at that point. I didn't get hit by the severity of it all until a couple years after. Luckily, because I was dealing with my body and my physically getting better, I didn't have time to deal with a whole lot else. Right. So, but that off season, I got pretty strong pretty quick with Zook. And I think he got strong too. I think he hit a lot of homers, so he might need to get back on the workout plan with me or something.
Yeah, get his ass out to Marietta. Let's get some jacks going.
Yeah,
that team needs some work.
I know. And they're looking better as of recently. I like what they have going.
Yeah, but I would like to see his power and average come up.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough playing. Oh, he's starting to catch fire. The average is slowly climbing. I mean, he's going to catch every third day or whatever with Stassi. He was pretty legit, but he's had himself a great career. And I mean, I still find that at the end of this year, he's probably going to have more baseball left if he wants it.
Oh, sure.
So,
yeah. So you guys powered through that year, lifting. Big John.
Well, and it was just, I did his workout program, so it was a lot of balance and I wasn't just like benching and stuff,
Right.
We'd do like a bunch of different
agilities and movements and lateral stuff. Yeah.
And lunges and like one
a lot of
leg
things you needed.
Yeah. I mean, I needed all of it. And so it was very.
What was the most scariest part for you to see? Like, what got skinny? Was it like your legs or your chest or you probably lost your butt? Like
you don't even. Because
when you lose that much weight, like
I don't even realize it at that point. You're sort of. I'd call it dumb or call it something else, but I was just like, I didn't worry about any of that. I just worried about getting better, back. and I saw myself getting better, so I felt good about what was going on.
Yeah. Now you referenced 2 years later, you kind of felt better. Was it mentally you started to feel better?
Oh no, I was saying. Well, first I was so overcome with like my physical stuff that I didn't really have time to like take in the severity and all that came along with my accident. I would say that was like 2 or 3 years later when I like really, it all sort of how heavy of an event and stuff that was, that I sort of was like, knew that I needed to tackle that monster as well, or else it would eat me alive,
Right. That's an unbelievable part. I mean, did you feel a depression or a grief for a period of time, or
it was really weird because I just felt like I felt like something was. It had to have been depression, but I felt like I could handle it at the beginning, So I was like, if you talk to my brothers and whatever, I'm like, okay, like something's up. I'm reading these books. I'm trying to meditate. I'm like doing whatever. I'm waking up at 2 a.m. so I get my workout in the morning, like just different stuff. But it came to a point where I was like, I just had to check my ego because a lot of it I was able to like take on physically because I knew how to deal with it, but the mental or the emotional stuff I really had no idea. You can't work harder to get through some of that. Sometimes you need to slow it all down and get some direction. So that's actually when I reached out to Ken Revisa, who lived in Redondo Beach at the time, and he's one who I respect the hell out of that guy, and he got me into the mental side of baseball, which I really used, and just all that, even the meditation stuff that I use to this day was sort of his doing. So I just hit him up, and he knew exactly where I was at. He didn't say it, and he's like, hey, how would you come to my house once a week and let's just chat? And so I did that for like, I don't know, almost a year.
How was it?
It was awesome. But he would have different people in his office with like, and I don't know if he brought these people in, but it was a military, someone in the military field that deals with the mental side of what soldiers deal with. And he would just bring these people in and but it wasn't like he didn't make it feel like a therapy session. We were just chatting. So it wasn't a one-on-one with you and Ken. There was actually other. No, he would just bring those people in occasionally. Okay. And I don't know if it was probably for my benefit, but it was also for theirs. Sure.
to hear someone else's story.
We just sort of chatted, and Ken actually helped bridge that gap for me to go like really talk to someone.
Right.
To like have that. He was my bridge, you know. I was the one that I felt comfortable with Ken, and he got me through a year and said, like, you know, you might want to go talk to someone else and just dive deeper into this thing. And so then I started tackling that part head on, which was way harder than the physical.
Sure. How long did it take you till you felt comfortable?
I would say probably like another 2 or 3 years after that.
Okay.
I mean, and it wasn't like I just had to find what worked for me and deal with some things that I didn't deal with.
Right.
That I just sort of brushed under the rug at the beginning because I had to.
Right.
So, so that was just more of a process than I thought. But
was it grueling more than you ever thought?
Well, it was just I wouldn't say it was a relief once. The main step was just realizing that, like, because everyone was like, you know, all like physically it was sort of like, oh, like Jon could do this because they, like, you know,
right.
I was like,
is that an issue, being the happy-go-lucky guy?
That's the momentum I had and going, and so then when this other thing came along. And the biggest step was when I realized, like, hey, like, maybe I can't do this one all by myself.
Right.
Like, I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to this. And you can't just outwork the mental or emotional stuff. So
right.
I feel like once I made it a point to go see Ken, it was sort of a weight off my back because at least I had people I trust. That were sort of my guiding light, and then I could work and do whatever.
There's a relationship too now. You know Ken. Yeah.
And I wasn't just a patient or something like that. You know, I was like, he was my coach in baseball. So it's like
yeah.
And that's where I found comfort in this all, is through baseball, like through the Angels, through working out with Zook. You know, getting back to that feeling sort of guided me through the whole recovery process.
Right. Because when I was with the Angels and you would come out to spring training a little bit, I mean, you had this glow about you, like an 8-year-old boy allowed to wear a uniform and go on to camp and run around. I mean, swinging the stick, hanging out, you know, I mean, you looked like, you know, like you were giddy Christmas boy.
Yeah. Well, that was a cool experience. And I mean, that staff, I mean, when you have like Don Baylor and Soch and Dino and all the Latchmans and everyone they have out there, and Eckstein and all the other guest instructors, and then you have me.
Right.
So, but it was really cool. The Angels have just been awesome to me, and Soch and Tim. And
now during the whole rehab, and I think people forget about this, right? Because they look at, Jon Wilhite, the survivor, Jon Wilhite, you know, he recovered. But during that whole process, you had to deal with a goddamn trial.
Yeah.
I mean,
luckily, that my folks went to that and stuff.
Right.
I luckily just stayed away from that. I didn't have to get too involved, but it was definitely going on. And the weird thing about that is I didn't go to... I only went to one day, and I went to the day where our attorney said, okay, you can come out, they're going to deliberation, like, there's not going to be a verdict probably for a couple of days. You can come out and see the other families that are there, and say hi to people, and as soon as I get there, they're like, we have a verdict. And so I'm like, oh, shit. And so, but I think I was meant to see this because... As soon as, we all go to the courtroom, and, you know, they're like reading all the counts of whatever, and the families are crying, and it's like definitely emotional moment, and then they say the guilty verdict, and they say guilty of all the counts, and they resort them, and so all the families are like emotional, and it's not like a happy emotional, they're emotional just because it's sort of like another thing they have to deal with, and the little piece of crap when he was walking out and just smirking, like laughing at the family members when they're all crying.
Right.
And so I sort of think like I was meant to be there and see that it wasn't like a guy that made like a very bad mistake. It was he's a bad guy.
Right. Right.
So I think I think something wanted me there that day to see that.
And it worked.
Yep.
Yeah. Perfect timing. What process, and I saw that you've spoken to some kids about driving and all that stuff. Are you still doing that?
I mean, I just do that here and there when people reach out and I feel like the need. I've never been like a public speaker, sort of say, or like one that like enjoys speaking in front of crowds. But I mean, it does feel good when I'm done doing some of that stuff. That maybe, I mean, just the feedback I get after some of those events for people coming up and thanking me, and just teachers saying how like a pin could have dropped in the room, like how quiet and how attentive they all were. I mean, some of them have been very tough though. They like stage these fake accidents, and they have like fake dead people on the ground, and like hearses and stuff. And then it's like, John, like speak, and I'm like in front of
all these high school kids, and you got PTSD starting to kick back. Like, that could be pretty emotional.
And so it's definitely like one of the tougher things I've had to do on a lot of levels.
Yeah.
But I pick and choose when I do those, when it makes most sense. I went back and did it for my hometown, and they have like a little wall that they have at the youth field where Henry and I grew up playing, just sort of as a reminder.
Now, I'm not a tattoo guy. I don't have one.
Me neither.
But I think the ones you have are like the best, awesomest ones ever.
Yeah.
You know, like when we did that portrait in 2010, like I definitely wanted to see that. So like, whose thought process was that to like, hey Doc, would you sign my neck?
Yeah, that was mine.
What did he say? And how do you approach a doctor? That's probably...
No, I didn't even ask for his permission. I got his signature from like someone at his office, and
you just went to the tattoo guy?
Then the next time I go back, I have his signature on his neck, and he was taking pictures. Dr. Body is one of the coolest. I've got to know him. One of the coolest dudes. I mean, we've hung out. Like, we've gone to dinner with him and his wife numerous times. Like, just a fun, normal dude. You wouldn't know that he was, like, a world-class doctor.
Gifted athlete. Surgeon the way he is.
He's just, like, he could be, like, a CEO or something. Like, you just would not. He's that type of person, though. But he's just a normal guy, too. Normal, fun dude. He was at my wedding.
That's special.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Then you got the names on the chest, which make for a great portrait. Thank you.
Yep.
And then the fireman on the bicep.
Yep. And I mean...
Now, is there any pressure with the fireman bicep that you got to keep a strong arm?
I mean, tattoos, you can't really get like real fat with tattoos.
Yeah. So you got to keep that bicep going.
You got to stay a little bit in shape.
Yeah, you got to have a gun show for the firemen.
At least you can have a little bit of belly, but you got to at least keep the arms a little tight.
Yeah, you can't embarrass the guys that saved you.
But I felt like that one was they were the most people that didn't get enough credit was the firefighters for actually, because some firefighters have told me that the amount of care that they took, given the severity of the crash, like some firefighters would have just tried to like clear up the scene just because it looked so grim at the beginning. But the amount of care they took to get me out of that car without moving my head and all that stuff is like why I'm walking today. So that was one that I felt like very, very appropriate to get, was sort of honoring them. I mean, of course, honoring Nick and Henry, and sort of as a daily reminder to me to sort of give me perspective for the day. I'm glad I get to see that every time I brush my teeth in the morning.
Right.
And the neck one I don't really see too often. That was for Dr. Body, and that was the first one, I think that was the first one, and I just was sort of joking around, and I said, well, don't good artists sign their artwork? And then I'm like, well, I should get a tattoo, Dr. Body's tattoo on my neck. So that's how that one worked out.
Boom.
Yeah.
Done. John, I cannot be more happy that I get to have this time and we get to do this podcast and we got to chat and you had the availability and you look great. You're married, you got a kid, Father's Day, 2-timer now.
Yeah.
What's the future hold for you?
Just sort of enjoying not being in COVID lockdown. We were on some serious lockdown, my wife and I, in Knox for, up until like last month, and it's been tough. Like I've had to miss some weddings that I was in and different stuff,
right?
Just because, it's different when you have a family, and it was right. And Knox was a preemie, and so there was just a lot of unknowns, and it sucks that I had to do some of that, but we're enjoying being a little more free, and hopefully a lot more baseball games and taking Knox to Titan games and Angel games, and just enjoying being back around friends and stuff more.
Where's John in 10 years?
I got a good gig with work, so I'm still there, and I'm not planning on moving a whole lot. I'm probably doing some coaching as far as Knox, playing baseball or whatever sports he wants to do or wherever life takes him. I just want to be the best dad I could be.
No pressure here, but will Knox have any siblings soon?
Talk to his mom.
It takes 2 to tango, John.
That's all I know. I talked to his mom. I'm not in charge of that decision. But yeah, I'm looking forward. I think hopefully Knox has a little more raw ability than I had. He's a gamer and a hard worker. I could already tell.
How's his feet? Can they move? They got good feet?
He just started walking like a week and a half ago, so he was a little late to the walking game, but he's charging pretty good right now. So
all right. Because that might have been a minus on the Jon Wilhite chart of feet.
Yeah, but he's got the hand-eye.
Okay.
I'm more worried about the arm than the feet. I don't think he's going to be a runner. I just hope he has a little bit. But I am a little concerned. He is throwing lefty right now occasionally.
Okay.
So, no, but we're not really... I want him to catch. Wilhites aren't normally pitchers, so...
Hey, things can change, John. Things can change. Get him a little nasty. Have him sit down with Ricky.
Yeah.
Or Sarver, one of those guys.
Yeah.
Get some lefties dropping that curve from 12-6.
Ricky
had
one of the best.
Yeah, absolutely. John, you're the best. I can't appreciate you more. Thank you for the time.
No, that was fun. Thanks for having me.
Anytime, my man. It's good seeing you. Thank you for listening to my conversation with Jon Wilhite. Please click the like button if you enjoyed it. Also subscribe. You can always find all our shows on the website, justagoodconversation.com.